Hey, how you doing? If you're like me, you like cheap PCs. I think we all like cheap PCs. But another thing I like is challenges. Things which get to show us who's better, who's worse, what you can do with a little bit of something to make it a lot more than it was before. That was the idea behind today's video. This was the $50 gaming PC challenge. Now, it wouldn't be a challenge if it was just me, so of course I did have a friend help and I'll be competing against him today. But as the rules go, $50, best PC wins. We're going to be testing new games, as well as synthetic benchmarks, which if you don't know, those just tell you how your processor, your graphics unit, all the different stuff, how they rank against each other and how they rank against the world. Anyway, today our competitor is going to be Gigabyte. He runs a popular tech YouTube channel, and he has over 1,000 subscribers. So let's see what his build is. Now, while a little bit holy in some way, I'd say looks nice. Especially the whole jerry-rig aspect of it. Very, very nice, very enjoyable. Reminds me of where I started building PCs, which they were a little destroyed, but I'd say they still end up getting the job done. Anywho, let's see what our competitor has to say.
Hello, it's Mr. Gigabyte. You should go watch my video. My computer's definitely better. And vote for me in the comments below.
Very inspiring speech by him. Anyway, let's get to it. Now, I saw this PC on Facebook Marketplace for $50, and as you can see, was sold as broken. Now, of course for me, I had to go ahead and hit this guy up, and with some negotiations, we secured the bag. And it turned out the issue was just a faulty OS, so after a fresh install, everything worked fine. These are the specs if you want to pause to check it out, but now, let's head to the benchmarks. First, we have Minecraft. At 1080p fast, we had minimums of 180, maximums of 302, and an average of 251 frames per second. Now, as far as Minecraft goes, it's been around for a minute, but this is the newest update, the latest version if you want to call it that, and it works very good. For $50, I don't really know what you expect, but I most definitely did not expect this type of performance. Truly astounding and definitely not e-waste. Now, you could have ran this in the fancy settings, but if you want to have the most enjoyable gameplay, I'd suggest fast, just because whenever rendering in new chunks, as you would see, the minimums would drop, though it's 180 and the screen refresh rate is only 60 FPS, so really not that noticeable, but still very enjoyable. On to the next benchmark. Of course, it wouldn't be an Upcycle Tech video without a Royale benchmark. This title, which came out in 2018, is one that I still enjoy today. With a minimum of 69, a maximum of 103, and an average of 96 frames per second, I'd say it ran fairly well. Now, keep in mind this was in 1080p max to ultra settings, which is the highest that this game would run it. While it's still considered a lightweight title, it is still not the easiest thing to run. Certain systems will struggle with it, but as you can see, our system did not. All in all, it was a very enjoyable experience that I would recommend for all of you. Now, on to the next game. As a newer title, Warthunder regularly receives updates, making it very difficult to run. But for us, as you can see, that really was not an issue. In 1080p with low to normal settings, we had minimums of 19, maximums of 135, and an average of 80. The minimum came whenever I was initially loading in the game, and whenever I was first loading in, it just had to have a little bit of stutter. But, it really was not that noticeable, and about a second and a half later, it was gone. Of course, I'm not the best at this game, but it was still very much so playable. If you wanted to, you could probably crank the settings up to high, but you really don't need to. With the experience we have and with how the graphics went, it really was not that bad looking. The particles looked nice, the models looked nice, and even the terrain below looked nice. Something which you really just don't see nowadays, especially with low settings in normal games. And much like the world's economy, my plane came crashing down. So, on to the next game. We decided to go ahead and binge PUBG in 1080p with all low settings. With minimums of 30, maximums of 70, and an average of 53, it was not a very bad gameplay experience. Now, later in the benchmarking for this session, I was in a car moving very fast, which more than likely dropped the frames, or at least the averages, down by quite a few. If I wouldn't have been in the car, it probably would have been over at 60, but no complaints in all honesty. Frame times were nice, and it was all in all a very smooth experience. If you wanted to do this, maybe crank it down to 900p to get that solid 60, but it's all up to you. Our final game we tested was Apex Legends. In 900p with mixed settings, we had minimums of 25, maximums of 88, and an average of 65. That minimum was actually noticeable whenever I was opening the door. Whenever that happened, some type of physics engine was triggered and it dropped the frames. Now, is this playable? I definitely say so. Keep in mind, altering the game configuration will make your gameplay smoother, but for me, I don't think it made that big of a difference. Now, with Cinebench, we got a single core 3207 and a multi-core of 787. With Firestrike 3D, we had a 4067 score, and all in all, very solid. Now it comes to the outro. Ladies and gentlemen, whether you think I did better or JaneDyke did better on the PC build, that is up for y'all to decide. Should you do something similar to this if given the chance? I'd say so, because you really can't go wrong. Oh, and join the Discord, link in description!